Good morning. Thank you for attending the TTS Talks Europe. This is our second session of the TTS Talks, and we will discuss a little bit about the near future and what can travel agencies expect for this future. So TTS is a global player in the development of innovative solutions for the travel industry, and we have been a premium partner for long. Most of you already know me. My name is João Taborda, and I am the head of sales at TTS. We have a global presence with more than 9,000 customers in more than 90 countries. This session will have a brief introduction about the COVID-19 and the impact that it had in our industry, the discussion with our speaker panel, and a short Q&A at the end. There are some guidelines to the attendees that all lines are muted. Please place your questions in the chat panel, and also a recording will be provided in the end. I'm pleased to present the speaker panel for today. We have Nelson Almeida. He is a strategic account at Travelport, Portugal. And Nelson has been in the travel industry for 27 years, and of which the last 21 have been in Travelport. Welcome, Nelson.
Thank you very much, João, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We also have Martin Stacherl, which is the account manager at Travelport, Austria. And Martin has 32 years of experience in our trade. And he joined recently Travelport in the last couple of years, 2.5 years, right? Thank you for attending, Martin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm pleased also to present Nuno Vargas. Nuno has more than 20 years, has more than 20 years of experience in the tourism industry, and the last 8 years were as CEO of Magnet, which was one of the first customers at TTS. Welcome, Nuno.
Good morning, everyone.
And last but not least, I'm pleased to present Rohit Saxena. He has more than 20 years of experience in our industry, of which the last 12 have been as director of Ariana Travel in the UK. Welcome, Rohit.
Thank you, and a pleasure to be here.
Great. So we have our speakers presented, and I would like to share with you some brief statistics about the impact of COVID-19 in our industry. And we can see that there was an overall revenue slump by 47% in the first quarter of 2020, which is a huge slump, and that's a major break for everyone in this industry. And we also have reports that new bookings fell 70% year over year in March. And also on a higher level, the global GDP is also expected to contract by 5% in 2020. So we can see that the COVID-19 has had a pretty big impact in our industry, but not only in our industry, worldwide it has a huge impact, and the whole world economy is going to suffer from it. But not all is bad. And I don't want to be only doom and gloom for you. And I want to share with you also some nice statistics that at least the IATA foresees for 2021. And IATA foresees that there is an expected revenue growth of 37%. So we can see in the previous slide that there was a 47% revenue slump, and in this case we recovered 37% hopefully next year. And also IATA expects that the passenger load factor it will be of 73% in the next year, against 82% in 2019, which is not bad at all, according to the situation that we are living in today. And last but not least, IATA expects that the global GDP will grow in the next year 7.1%, recovering the slump for this year and also growing by 2.1% in a 2-year aggregate. So not all is bad. Of course, this is a forecast from the IATA. Anyways, it's good to know that there is some future, and there is some hope in that future for us as an industry, from such an accredited entity as IATA. So now I have the speakers on board, and I will place the first question. So I would like to ask to Nuno. So most of the world has been in lockdown since mid-March due to the COVID-19. And I would like to ask you, how did it impact your business and your staff in regards of productivity, but also mental health, and more on a personal side, how was your personal experience during the COVID-19 lockdown? The stage is yours, Nuno.
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of business, this was a total disaster. To be honest, this is a war scenario. We don't have at this stage any or almost anything to sell in terms of flights. So April was our bottom rock position, but May we started to see some volumes, but very low ones. We are talking about figures that are with 90 and more % of decrease compared with 2019. So this is absolutely a war scenario. So everyone thinks like this. Also, I think this is shared with all my colleagues here in this panel. So no one in this area sees it in different way. But in terms of personally, and you were asking how were the moods, we never stopped working since when we start issuing tickets. We started solving the problem of the tickets that we issued in the past. So people in the office were still working, and with a lot of problems, because airlines were not giving us the answers. Everything was chaotic. So in terms of work, we never stopped, which is, I think, important. But in terms of personally, I think this was a very interesting situation. Some people complained because they were tired of being at home, but normally they are always complaining that they never have time to be at home. So, and I think it's good to be with the family too. Families, to be with our families is also very important. And I think that when we talk about marriage, if a marriage can survive to this situation like this, it can survive to anything with 100% contact with all of us. So living in the 24-hour process, so with no time to see it in a different perspective. So I think it was good, and I had the chance to rest a lot, so read some books and keep things going on in terms of business. So, but at this stage, I think the most important thing is that we keep health, and we should look at 2021. I think 2020 at the beginning, I think when we start with all this mess, my opinion was we let us focus in 2021 because 2020 is lost. So whatever it could come in terms of volumes, I would expect probably in the last quarter of the year some business, but it will be not enough to cover all the disaster we had along the year of 2020.
Thank you so much, Nuno. And it's really a great insight from your side. It's true that most of the agencies that I speak with, they try to keep the business going, mainly with cancellations, but supporting the customers. Even if it's cancel their tickets, it's important to stand by their side and ensure that they have someone to rely on, which is the great added value of the travel agent. And also it's a pretty good insight in regards of mental health for people to try to read exercise even if it's inside home. That's always good guidelines for people to keep themselves active and try to learn some new stuff. Wow. Thank you so much, Nuno. So my next question would be for Martin. It's basically the same question, but also in regards, as you are an account manager and speak to lots of travel agencies on a daily basis, what is the feedback from your subscribers about the impact in or personal your experience during?
Well, thank you for the question. And well, spoiled by the record passenger numbers we saw last year in Vienna, it was for the first time that we surpassed 30 million passengers at this airport, almost reaching 33 million passengers. The first 2 months of 2020 showed very good and promising business results with our customers, supported by a healthy business and economic development in the area here. And initially, when it all happened, COVID-19 was regarded as being a local crisis similar to those which we expected previously. But when it became clear that it spread to Central Europe, Northern Italy, which is very close to us, was the first hotspot. The crisis hit everybody in the industry severely. The governments in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland reacted swiftly and banned all international flights, which meant our business came to a full stop. But on the other hand, packed together rescue packages for the industry. And almost all of our clients took advantage of this and therefore could continue to maintain their workforce. So hardly any redundancies were made by the agencies. As mentioned by Nuno before, workload for the agents has been very high at the beginning, mainly to rebook the flights and secondly to repatriate stranded passengers from abroad. Because there was the promise of the government to bring everybody home who wanted, wherever in the world he is. And there have been repatriation flights from the government, but I'd say 90% of all repatriation efforts were made by the agencies and not the government. And for us at Travelport, the transition to a home office was less or more straightforward process, as we're all well equipped with tools to work remotely. Personally, for me, it was, I needed a few days to adapt to working from home. You don't have the comfort you have in the office, like big screens around you, a scanner, whatever, a sophisticated printer, whatever, and all that stuff. But after that time, business continued as normal, with the exception that we don't have any face-to-face meetings anymore. They were replaced by phone calls, but mainly by WebEx or Microsoft Teams meetings, which proved to be not as good as a personal meeting, but for the circumstances they're good enough to deal with the urgent issues we have to talk over. As from a company perspective in our region, we do not see that productivity has dropped significantly. Of course, we are working short hours, but we could meet our targets and timelines, so it is quite okay. What we instituted, not to lose personal contact with the team and not to get the feeling that you're completely isolated at home, we introduced something like a virtual coffee break, which is once a day for 15 minutes. It's like meeting on the corridor in the office or in the coffee kitchen, which doesn't have an agenda. You just talk to your colleagues, and that also helped to maintain the team spirit, which I think we shouldn't lose, even though we're working separately at home.
That's good, Martin. And it's true. I don't know if you saw the previous session. We had Diana, a person from Business Travel, and she was saying that she hosted some dance classes for her staff, some yoga sessions as well, to try to keep the people engaged, not only in business, but only more on a personal side. It was a good opportunity for people to get to know better the colleagues for stuff that they don't even speak on a daily basis.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you so much, Martin. So Nelson, I would like to ask you, from a technology standpoint, we have seen a huge increase in the usage of technology, especially the ones providing mobility and working from home. You have deployed several hundreds of licenses in Portugal. How did this kind of technology made your subscribers' life easier with that transition?
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this session, first of all, for all the attendees that I see here. And I see many familiar faces, not only in Portugal, but also abroad, like my good friend, Patrick Rajot. I see he's in the call. Hello to you, my friend. So thank you for the question, João. Yes, definitely technology helped. And we have saw a huge variety of things, I guess, elsewhere in the world, but in particular in our market in Portugal, we have seen a lot of different experience, and I can share with you that we had already some, especially in the corporate space, some TMCs that would already experience the working from home environment for a couple of years, and so for them was pretty natural. So majority of their consultants were already working from home, so just another day in the office, to be honest. But for the largest majority of the agents, it was completely a challenge. And of course, every single piece of technology that allowed their consultants to be in touch with the customers, and like Nuno and Martin already said, the first part, so from mid-March to the end of April, the amount of load of work was so massive, because there was a need to do a lot of rebooking and keep a close contact with their customers. So every single piece of technology, and of course TTS also allowed the agents to access from TMA or from other solutions. So every single piece of solution that was able to allow the agents and the consultants to have access to the content and to do the process of the bookings was very welcome. Let me just share with you guys, just to give you a glance of scale of what had happened in the last days of March. One of our largest customers, I will not name the name, of course, but they are a big, large customer in Portugal. And in one single week, they had the need to send people, 220 to 150 people from their office working from home. You say, I know that in some countries 250 is nothing, but imagine that not everybody in the world, not every travel consultants have laptops, right? They are working their offices, they're expected to appear every single day in their offices, and they have an old desktop with a screen, and that's their job. That is what is supposed to happen. And from day to another day, from one day to another, you need to send hundreds of people to work from their homes to be safe and away from this pandemic. And imagine the scale on one single week. You will need to have 250 new laptops installed, implemented with our solutions, with your solutions, with back office solutions, a bunch of technology that you need to allow the consultants just to allow them to go working from home and to be able to attend their own customers. And so it was a massive and a crazy time, but I think it was a lesson for all of us that technology is more than, it's always been important, but today I think it's critical.
Thank you so much, Nelson. That's true. That's the feedback that I heard from several agencies, that it was a critical time for them with that work from office to work from home transition. And what I hear a lot is that technology like TMA, TTS Web Agent helped a lot. Not only that, but also I listen a lot that Travelport was walking hand in hand with their customers, supporting them in that transition. And I hear a lot that feedback from happy customers saying that they would be unable to do that transition without your help. So that's some valuable feedback that we listen a little bit around the world from the customers that I speak with.
Absolutely, João.
Great. So Rohit, the next question is for you. Now that travel agents are used to work from home with tech solutions like TMA, TTS Web Agent, and others from their smartphones, smart TVs, laptop, do you plan to keep some agents with the liberty of working from home after the crisis, even if only on a partially level?
Yeah, now work from home is actually a model which we already have in place and had in place even pre-COVID, and has worked well for us for over 9 years, where majority of the team are located in London, north and south of India. And smart technology has played a very important role for us regardless. Generally speaking, also work from home, we think, can attract talent globally as well. With COVID, the dynamics have changed a lot, and we will see employers letting more and more employees to work from home. Possibly travel shops would have limited members of face-to-face selling and the rest from home connected seamlessly through technology. Well, it also saves travel time for employees somewhere from A to B to their offices, and just must add something to the efficiency as well. From a business's perspective, saving monies, those rent, heating, and other admin costs is always an attractive proposition, especially these days. And that's likely to drive the shift to remote work as well in times to come. In fact, some of the companies that I hear of for whom the home working has gone so smoothly that they have started now to shut their regional offices. As an example, there is a bank which is 90% of its 60,000 employees have worked remotely during this pandemic, and according to their CEO, they have proved that they can operate effectively with no footprint.
That's huge.
Yeah,
it's true. Thank you so much, Rohit. It's good that you guys were already prepared for the work from home environment and were already allowing your travel agents to have that flexibility. And it shows that Ariana Travel is on the verge of innovation for technology and is stepping up the game. That's very good to know.
Yeah.
And in regards to this question, Nelson, I would like to ask you if you have heard about the plans from your subscribers to provide additional flexibility to their travel agents to work from anywhere and not being limited to the office. So now, just a minute ago, you were saying that you had an agency that had to transition 250 people from their office to home. Have you heard of any plans to only a part of those people will return to the office, a small percentage, or no, they are saying no, 100% will go back to the office when things are okay for that? Sorry, you are muted. Ines, can you unmute Nelson?
No, I think I'm
okay. Yeah,
okay.
Now you are. Okay, sorry.
Yes, it's true. Like I said, I mean, there were a few cases where agents were already prepared because they were testing, and so for a couple of years they were doing this proactively with their consultants, and so they were getting the idea that even for the consultants, it was it was very good because they were happy to be closer to the family, to be not to waste time in traveling to get to the office, and also the experimental and the feedback they had from their own corporate customers was being very good, because customers were having the impression that the consultants were happier to be working from home, and therefore that experience will allow them to have a more, let's say, friendly conversation with their customers. So everybody was happy. But like I said, that was one or two cases in Portugal. The great majority of the agents were not prepared for this challenge. It was so huge workload, and they had the need to prepare them from one day to another to have a different scenario. So yes, the conversations we have been having with all the agencies during this pandemic allows us to understand a couple of things. On the leisure side, they will very carefully choose which agents, retail agents, will they open and when. And we know that in some cases you have the shopping malls that are opening from June, and they somehow force the retailers that are inside the shopping malls to open their shops, even if you don't want to, because there is no enough demand, but they are being forced to open. But apart from that, they will carefully, in the leisure side, I would say, they will very carefully monitor and evaluate which retail agents and shops they will open and how many people it will be needed to be face-to-face, like I believe Rohit also said, in front of the customer. On the corporate space, I think this is a completely game changer. This pandemic will change completely the environment and the way they work and the way we all work. So I truly believe that TMCs will have more people in their homes, working from home and doing a consultancy, because technology is there and there's no need to go. And it's another very important aspect I would like to bring is the following. Don't forget that our offices were made and were designed to have everybody, at least everybody or majority of the people working there, right? So from one day to another, you are not allowed to have everybody coming to the office, because you will not follow, I would say, the Portuguese safety rules, but I would say any other country safety rules as well. So I mean, it will be a mandatory rule to have a portion of people coming slowly back to the office, but there will be a need to have people remaining in their homes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Great. And it's true that you mentioned the difference between the leisure and the corporate. Those are different realities. And of course, that the leisure shops, the staff will have to be there to answer the customers, and those ones will have to be forced to go to work there, even if they have less staff. that's true that they will have to have travel agents there. But on the corporate side, there will be a majority of agents that will be allowed to work from home. And as we were speaking before the session start, I believe that we will see an increase of people moving to the interior and leaving the larger cities like Lisbon and moving to other to the countryside. And we also will see an impact on the office rental industry, which will suffer from this situation. But that's it is what it is. Thank you so much, Nelson. So, Nuno, we have seen in the past that travel agency directors like yourself love new technologies, but face some resistance from their travel agents to adopt those technologies, as in some cases they change the way that people work. Do you feel that your team is more open to new procedures, new technologies to support and enhance their tasks?
Well, João, I think this is not a time of big changes in terms of technology, because all the technology that we have at this stage available for us, it was already there. So I think this is more a change of way that we communicate to each other. Probably in the past, we were having not this as a webinar, but probably seated on some couches and talking to an audience somewhere in the world. So this is a little bit, I think that I heard my colleagues, Nelson was talking about this new reality and everything else. I think it's a little bit too soon to understand what will be the new normal, because I think that although working at home, it's a solution and can happen, I think it's not at this stage a good solution, because houses in our days are smaller. In the past, we had houses where you had a one room that will be your office at home. At this stage, most of the people don't have a room in the home that will be its office. So maybe in the future, this can be thought in a different way. And when you buy a house, you think already that you need some space for your work. But most of the people don't have those facilities, so that makes more difficult to have a clear idea what will be the new reality in terms of technology and how people are open to. I know our sector it's a very technology-based sector compared with all the others. We work with systems to do all the kind of reservations for our clients. So we are very used to work in technology. We have some tools like you guys have the travel mobile agent and so, which are tools that allow you to work in anywhere. Just have to, the only thing you need is to have a phone. So there are a lot of services that we can provide from our phones in our days. So this is not new. This is not something that came with this pandemic. But I think we are still, it's still too soon. We are still surfing the wave. So we didn't reach the shore yet. So we don't know what will be the landscape in the end of this. And I don't know if I think we will see a lot of things that will help us and make things differently. We sometimes here in Lisbon we suffer from the public transportation strikes. That it's a mess to everyone that wants to go to the office. Probably in the future this will not happen because people will stay at home working, because we have already made it possible in an easy way, so they don't need to come to the office and suffer all the delays because there are no public transportation. So this is probably a thing that will happen. I think also on my colleagues that have young children, when sometimes those children, for some reason, they cannot go to school. They have to stay at home. They can stay with them and work at the same time. So this is also a different way of doing things or doing the work. And even for traveling, I think that people don't need to work in the office. If they want to go to somewhere in the country for a couple of days and work from there, that will be possible also. So this is something that is getting close to the new generation's perspective of work, which we find it difficult somehow to reach sometimes, because we have an old-fashioned way of work. But the new generations have a different perspective what should be the work, and then they don't want to be arrested to a chair, and they want to have some freedom of working anywhere. Just give them a laptop and an internet connection, and they'll be working where they feel like. So I think this is probably where we are going next, but I think it's too soon to understand, and even from the technology perspective, I don't know if that has changed that much.
Great, thank you for your insights, Nuno. And I must say that your staff is already used to use new technologies, as Magnet was one of the early adopters of our solution, TTS Consolidator, and you guys are always on the verge of innovation and adopting the new features that we are constantly releasing. So the staff that you manage are all people that are technology savvy, and they understand and adopt those new technologies, as we have seen in the past. And also in regards of what you were saying, that people want to have the flexibility of working from anywhere. Also, I shared some statistics on our Travelport Mobile Agent webinar last Thursday, that actually people would accept a lower salary if that job allows them to travel and to work remotely. So that says a lot about the importance of traveling and also having flexibility to work from anywhere. And I believe that it corroborates what you are saying, that actually that's true. People want that flexibility, they want to travel and still be allowed to work. And being in sales, that's what we do as salesmen. We travel and we travel to work, and we still handle the workload that we do in the office and also traveling. So that's also true. Thank you so much, Nuno. So Martin, the next question is for you, and I would like to ask you, how has Travelport been supporting your subscribers during the past few months?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question, because that was really an issue, and there were lots of thoughts, how can we best support our subscribers and friends in the industry. And right at the beginning of the crisis, Travelport set up a microsite, which was openly accessible for the entire industry. And there we put together the key information required to cope with the immediate effects of the crisis. And one of the features that was highly appreciated is the airline policy tracker, which gives an up-to-date information about the procedures in place with every airline. For instance, how to change book tickets and which procedures are in place and how it is to be handled. Having all this information aggregated in one place was used by many of our clients. Some of them integrated it into their intranet and agent information sites. Especially it was difficult for agents to reach their airline partners. Of course, with your home carrier, you are quite fine if it comes to if it comes to flight changes and how which policy is in place. But talking about for carriers which have no representation in the German-speaking countries. This information really was a great support for our agents, and our airline teams did a tremendous job on that, and it's still up to date. I just checked it before. Most of the inputs are from late last week. On the other hand, our solution team worked hard to find suitable solutions for procedures created by airlines. Some of them were not according to IATA specifications, like residual AMD handling, or you get an extra credit for your next flight if you accept a voucher and things like this. And our teams came up with solutions in short times, which were approved and adopted by the airlines, in our case, mainly by the Lufthansa Group. And thirdly, what we did, we offered free online training sessions for Galileo, which in our market also was available in German. And finally, you can't answer any question in a crisis situation over the web. You can't guide the agent over a web interface to the correct solution for that, what they actually, and sometimes in case of urgency, need. And therefore, we kept our local support fully operational at full working hours. And our both the technical and the applicatory team from our help desk was available for the agents at all times, and that was highly appreciated.
Great, Martin. It's true that the feedback that we heard in last week webinar, but also from the customers that I speak a little bit around the world, is that actually the airline policy tracker is one of the features that they love the most from your coronavirus hub. And it's also great that Travelport mobile agent and TTS web agent is also mentioned in that hub as one of the natural solutions for travel agents to work from home, which proves the value of the solutions themselves and the strength of our partnership as premium partner of Travelport.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I didn't mention it, but the generous offer for supplying that free of charge to the agents was highly appreciated.
Thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you.
So Rohit, the next question will be for you. We strongly believe that the new normal will rely heavily on technology, as we are seeing more interest in solutions like TTS Corporate, TTS Consolidator. So I would like to ask you which technology has been implemented or is planned to be implemented to face this new normal?
Yeah, I think with travel companies now adopting virtual working practices, cloud-based solutions are likely to become increasingly favored. We do already have TTS Corporate in place, which in our view is a flexible tool, as it can be scaled up or down within minutes. We know that, right? Such flexibility will play an important role as the corporate travel requirements are going to fluctuate. More so since online booking tools attract low booking fees, we will see higher demand for clients as well, who have reduced travel budgets. For the industry, however, to recover in a new normal, travelers will need to feel safe. Technology should now be able to provide risk ratings, monitoring health and safety protocols of airlines, accommodation, car hire, etc. Because we know that even with the strictest of standards, exposures to surfaces through check-in flights at hotels, boarding a plane represents significant hazards. There'll be a massive shift to touchless travel. So touchless options throughout will become a norm, for which integrated digital identity solutions will be a key. Overall, technology will evolve at an even faster rate, and so will those travel companies who have not yet kept pace with it.
Great, thank you so much for your insight, Rohit. And it's true. I believe that the new normal will be touchless, and also in regards of the procedures. The more information the travel agent has at their disposal to pass on to the traveler, the better. So solutions, and that's what we are doing at TTS. We are trying to get the most information possible to give it to the travel agents to enhance their productivity. And even if the customers do not ask, that you are able to provide that information to them with no effort. And that's of absolute value for the travel agents of today. Thank you so much. Nelson, so we know that revenues went down and travel agencies need to optimize their cost base. And over the last month, we have been contacted by an increasing number of ex-IATA agencies asking about what happens to TTS solutions because they dropped or they are thinking of dropping their IATA certification. And of course, although the answer is that they can continue to use our technology and benefit from solutions like TTS Consolidator for non-IATA, my question is if you expect to see an increasing number of non-IATA agencies that were previously IATA certified.
Well, to be completely honest with you, I don't have a crystal ball. If I had one, I haven't bought from China without batteries, so I mean, I have no clue. but I can tell you this: I think IATA in the past years has been somehow bringing some flexibility to their accreditation process. And what I can tell you is, before COVID-19, and more specific in the Portuguese market, and specifically driven by our flag carrier Taper Portugal in the introduction of their new distribution model, private channel to be in particular, what we saw was a significant number of small to medium non-IATA agencies adopting the easy pay model that IATA has brought to the market as a new prepay solution for those small agents. And we saw a lot of, a significant few accreditations. After COVID, who knows? I think, yes, probably we'll see some medium to small agents that today are IATA, they have the IATA accreditation to at least think that around them you have great companies doing consolidation, and Nuno is here. Of course, I can always say they are one of the leadest consolidation platforms and the systems in the market. So the solutions are there, and to be honest, Joe, I don't have a crystal ball, but I truly believe that might happen. Yes.
Thank you so much, Nelson. I completely agree with you that we might see an increase of non-IATA agencies. Anyways, as you were mentioning, and that's correct, in the beginning of the year, we have seen an increase of IATA accredited travel agencies due to the TAP private channel. Anyways, it was also nice to see that some of those new IATA agencies, they were also adopting TTS Consolidator to allow their own branches to work without having GDS knowledge. Sometimes most of those small travel agencies, they do not have much staff with GDS knowledge. And even if they are IATA accredited, solutions like TTS Consolidator help a lot. But at the end of the day, if we see an increase of non-IATA agencies, they know who they can knock on the door.
Sure.
Consolidators like Magnet and other big consolidators in Portugal, they are ready to serve those new non-IATA agencies on the spot. And Travelport also does an amazing service helping them and directing them to solutions that assist them in their daily tasks. But I am with you that we will see an increase of non-IATA agencies.
Yeah, let me just add one small thing. I mean, when I said that IATA was bringing some flexibility to the accreditation process, it's also flexibility to the way those small agents do business. And regardless of the fact that we saw before COVID-19 and do to the TAP private channel implementation in the Portuguese market, a significant number of new accreditation from small agents that were keen to have access to the most cheapest fares from TAP, because otherwise they wouldn't have the access for it. So that was the push for them to seek an accreditation from IATA. At the same time, what we noticed is this flexibility also brought the ability of one small agent that is now accredited with EasyPay from IATA. When they run out of the money on the EasyPay, they also are consuming consolidation business as well. They are using consolidate at the same time, because it becomes some sort of a hybrid solution, if you will. And I truly believe that at least until TAP will continue with the private channel in Portugal, I would say it will be common to see hybrid solutions and people entering in the EasyPay of IATA, but at the same time continue to consuming consolidator business. Yes, definitely.
Great, that's true. And I would just like to make a special mention, as you know, that the customers that use TTS Consolidator were actually the first ones that had access to TAP private channel and that were ready to consume that content that was exclusive for IATA agencies. So that's also good for travel agencies to know that if they use our software, they will always have the new features, the new updates on the ready time to market. And that's pretty important for them. Thank you so much, Nelson. So Nuno, the next question is for you. And I would like to ask you, do the travel agents that survived this have a resurgence, because people have realized the value of having a human to deal with all the uncertainties of travel? And we have seen that people rely on travel agents in crisis periods, and then when crisis leaves, they forget the travel agents. And do you think that now people will stick with travel agents because they see that travel agents take care of them?
Well, I think that in the past, what we've seen is that everyone thought that the travel agents will be something that will be not the future.
Disposable, right?
Yeah, they will not work in the future. But from my point of view, what we've seen in the last years is that, and I will talk especially in terms of the airline business. So the airline business has become in the last years more complex. So to buy a ticket in our days, it's probably more complex than it was 10 years ago. And that brings an added value to the travel agent. And with this pandemic situation, I foreseen for at least the very short term and even for the medium term, more complexity in the travel. And that's where the travel agent really matters. So it's going to be more difficult to travel in the coming, and now at this moment, it's more difficult to travel, but even when we have more offer in terms of flights, it will be more difficult because you will have to do some extra control. We saw this when we start to see the increase of the security measures on the airports. Now we will see an increase of the safety measures on the airport. So this is something that will make traveling more complex. So as long as the complexity of traveling increases, the travel agent will always have an extra role to show. And so I think it is really important for the future. I don't know if people, normally we only feel the need of having a travel agent when things go wrong, because when everything goes right, softwares work perfect. But I'm pretty sure there was no software in the world, I'm sorry, Nelson and Martin, but even from Travelport, which are great softwares, but no software in the world will be prepared to manage with a situation like the pandemic situation in that we were faced recently. So if you have an answer machine doing all the talk, it will not be prepared to manage this situation. So the human touch it's good, especially when times are not common. So and we are living a total uncommon scenario. So it is expectable that in the near future, at least the travel agent will be will play a very important role in the travel. So I think that's my perspective, at least.
That's great, and I completely share your opinion that travel agents, people, it's like the travel insurance or insurance in general. People
Yes.
only think of them when
Remember
they
them.
need them. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I would just like to add to that there were several reports from people that were calling the big OTAs, that were calling directly the airlines because they purchased the tickets from them, and they were standing in line for hours, and even without being able to reach an operator. And there were also several reports from travelers that purchased their tickets from travel agents, and that travel agents did all that for them. And travel agents were there to support them and were there to handle all the cancellations, exchanges, whatever they needed, the travel agent was there. And that's where the added value also in regards of consultancy, but that's where the added value relies of having someone who's an expertise and can assist you if something goes wrong. But even if everything goes well, travel agents can assist you in giving you directions for the destination that you are heading to, giving you important insight. So it's also important that travel agents do that job of letting their customers know that they are ready to help them when their customers want to start flying again. That's also important that travel agents do that work. Thank you so much, Nuno. Martin, as we have seen in previous crisis moments, also in COVID-19, and a bit as we were speaking, the travelers that had the best customer service were the ones that booked their trips in a travel agency. And due to that, do you foresee a distribution more focused on the GDS and not so fragmented as we've seen in the previous years?
Thank you for that question, which are actually two questions. So let me answer the first. Right, you are. This crisis again showed that travelers who had their trip arranged via a professional partner were best off. This crisis again proved that it is almost impossible for a traveler to rearrange schedule when abroad or trying to do it remotely. Exactly what Nuno just said before. Reports were out where passengers really had bad experience. What I learned from our agents in our market is that they spent lots of time and efforts to find suitable solutions for their clients. When they saw that their flights were canceled, it comes onto their queue, rebooked them, reprotected them, and then proactively contact the passengers to supply them with their new schedules. And this is something you don't get from anywhere but from a travel agent. So I think for the foreseeable future, travel agencies will be the outlet to purchase travel. And the second question is about CRS. Which role did it play in the rescue process we saw? And Also, this crisis again showed the value of a GDS. In a GDS, the agent can find all information needed in one platform to cope with the requirements, starting from the passenger information through the client file to the PNR, where he sees the updates from the airline side, whether it's a cancellation or a reprotection. He can check the ATICs, and only in a GDS, you can find alternative solutions for passengers that need a reprotection. This only can be done in a global solution, and GDSs are the global solution specifically designed for that. The other issue was airline-specific tools. Let's quote Spark. Have very little integration functionality into the back office systems of the agencies, and little integration into the apps that the agents use, because they are mainly based on GDS, because the GDS are built for that. So again, this crisis reaffirmed the values a GDS can bring to the trade.
Great. Thank you so much, Martin. And it's true. And let's hope that the content will mainly be distributed through the GDS, as we have seen in the past several reports from travel agents struggling and spending a lot of time outside the GDS. Let's hope that this brings a new future where airlines will work hand in hand with the GDS and will still be able to deploy all the content in the GDS to allow the travel agents to work in a more efficient way and not having as many struggles as they related in the past. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Martin. Rohit, quick question. Which kind of tourism will recover soonest, national or international?
Yeah, a lot of us are actually very eager to travel abroad and cannot wait for these restrictions easing up, and of course, safety from the virus of it. But I think in the short term, domestic tourism will recover sooner and in fact drive the further recovery of the tourism sector. The reasons are obvious. The traveling domestic is more accessible, gives a feeling of safety, having to avoid mass air travel, I say even trains, and of course no border restriction. And yes, easing of restrictions will be a major factor of deciding where to travel internationally. We already have examples in the business where, while wanting to go to one destination, people have decided to go for vacation or are deciding to go to vacation to another one which has lesser restrictions.
Yeah, it's true. It seems to be the main opinion that national will recover soon. But anyways, if people want to go abroad, of course, they will choose destinations that have less restrictive control measures. That's true. Thank you so much, Rohit. So my last question will be for the four speakers. First, I would like to ask you, Nelson, which trends do you see for the future of travel agencies post-COVID-19? You are muted. Ines, can you unmute Nelson, please?
No.
You're good to go.
I'm good to go. So, yeah, I mean, just picking up what Rohit has said, and I fully agree. I think domestic will at the short term, will be the key driver, and initially, and of course, in my home country, in our home country as well, it's also the same. We tend to forget that in Portugal, 31% of our air traffic is domestic. We tend to forget that we have two beautiful archipelagos in the middle of the Atlantic, and so it's critical for us that domestic traffic begins. And like we were talking before, the audience appearance, we were chatting basically, and it's true. I never saw so many travel agents in the past never cared about domestic travel, and today they are highly focused on arranging programs and bringing new content and trying to bring differentiating inside what it is the domestic potentialities for Madeira and Azores, and also for the mainland, which allow us to understand that it's critical for us that the domestic will start at the short term, and not only Portuguese or Portugal domestic traffic, but all intra-European traffic. It's critical for a country like Portugal that has only one land border with Spain, and then the rest is sea. So without there, we are basically killed. We are not, unfortunately, we are not like Austria, Martin, that you have a lot of countries around you. We only have one land border, which is Spain. So our geographic location, it's highly dependent on the R. So with that in mind, and come to your question directly as well. Sorry for this thought. I truly think that the corporate will take some time, but perhaps will give us the first indications in the near future how the market will evolve. I mean, Travelport has been, since the beginning of the pandemic, doing a lot of analysis, basic analysis, a lot of data, not only internal data, but outside data from competitors, from IATA, from other sources, like big multinational consultant companies. And we have one certainty: no one has absolutely no idea how the recovery curve will look like. So we are still struggling. This is a completely unprecedented times we are facing. We never faced something similar. So it's very hard for us to forecast and project and to know. But we know a couple of things. And in my view, the big corporations, big enterprises like our Martin Travelport, we are very aware of our internal instructions in regards to travel, in regards to go to the office. So we are aware. And so big organizations, enterprise will put always their employees' safety at the very highest level. It will be the most important things. With that in mind, we know they will not travel unless it's very important to do so. And the mid-sized corporate companies, I mean, it depends on the business type. If it is more a commercial driver business, I think they will wait and they will only travel when they think it's safe to do, and to the countries where they feel their employees will be safe to travel to. But of course, there are always organizations and companies that need to send engineers, to send technicians to repair some stuff elsewhere, and those travels will start. I mean, I think as soon as we have the restrictions being lifted by the countries, we will see some corporate traffic to start with. On the leisure side, it's a big question mark. Until we got a vaccine or a cure for this virus, and until a very important metric, I think it's confidence. So until people have confidence to travel again, I will expect to see a very moderate demand. And following the IATA RPK recent report, what they are saying is, guys, don't expect to have the same demand of 2019, and we will need to compare in the future with 2019 will be our baseline year for any kind of analysis. Don't expect to see the same demand until somewhere in 2023. So we all need to realize that there will be a smooth transition, and confidence is key.
Thank you so much, Nelson. As you have seen, we are already with 11 minutes past the hour. So I would like to ask you a quick answer on this, Martin. Which trends do you see for the future of travel agencies post-COVID-19?
Well, for business travel, I do see this business remaining with TMCs. There is the legal obligation for the duty of care with the companies, and only travel agencies, business travel agencies, can comply with that up to the requirements of the legislation. We have an example, we have several examples right now in the market where TMCs introduced the concierge service, what Rohit also mentioned before. This will guarantee that all the requirements for travel are met and the passengers are safe. In terms of leisure, it is, I think, a very regional development what we see, because most of the lifting of travel bans is done on a bilateral basis right at the moment. It's not a general return to normality within European Union, but for instance, in the Central European market, in the Germanic market, travel restrictions were lifted June 15th. And we see a tremendous increase in requests in our leisure platform. And that is especially for package tours. This market still is limited. The largest market opening up for package tours is Greece, where all restrictions have been released from between the two markets. And the other one is the Balearic Islands in Spain. For the self-driver, what you said before, yeah, we have many borders. Going down to the Adriatic coast in Croatia is normally done by car. And this market will have a very, very strong season, I suppose. Great. Because it's a fast, efficient way to go there. But again, this is a product for the leisure agencies. Yes, it's a hotel-only booking, but as most of the hotels sell their capacity to tour operators, the traveler will go through either online travel agencies or through a traditional travel agency to book that arrangement.
Great insights, Martin. Thank you. Nuno, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that it's difficult for us to predict whatever. So we are in the situation currently that no one expects to believe what will be the next step, because I've seen the news yesterday and everyone was expecting that we start to improve a lot in everything but now it seems that in China we start to see a lot of issues with the pandemic, and I think that the first ones to travel also will be probably the workers, the immigrants. Those are the ones that will be first requested to come to countries like the countries in Europe, where we see a lot of people coming from other Asian countries to work here. So I think those will be the first travelers, and the corporate will start, like Nelson said, in the end of this year. I think it will start. I've seen also that number of the 2023 Nelson mentioned.
Yeah. The year zero will be 2023, right?
I'm not sure it will be I think probably we'll start to see things normalizing first. I've seen some airlines putting that date as 2023 as the closest that we will be for 2019.
Yeah.
But I think they are trying to paint a worse scenario, because there are a lot of airlines getting help from the governments, so they need to show a very worst case scenario, so that they can get the biggest help they can get.
Yeah.
But I think this will be quick, because there will be one of these three things: or we get a vaccine, or we get a cure, or we'll get herd immunity, which I think will be the first one to reach. So when the vaccine will come to all of us to solve this, we will be already in a group immunity. But how long this will take, I'm not aware of it. I don't know it. No one knows how long this will take. But I think that this will be a quick recovery. I'm pretty sure. People want to travel a lot. You know that the social media, you go through the social media like Instagram, and you see everyone that is there. I would say 80% of the posts they put there are from traveling. So all these new generations, and we also are part of it. We travel a lot. We will keep traveling even more. I think the younger, I was having a conversation with my sister-in-law in last weekend, and she was mentioning that in their company they were talking about the countries that each of them have traveled, and she was saying that, and she has 50 years. So she said that I went already to 20 countries with the group that were. There was a colleague of hers with 21 years that had already traveled to 35 countries. So this is
that's a lot.
just to have for a 21-year person, it's a lot. I think for someone that just started with a 3 year of majority, so it's traveling already to a lot of countries. So the young people travel a lot, and they need to travel to give content to their social media profiles. So I think that this will be very quick. I'm pretty sure of it.
Great. It's very good to see some optimism, Nuno. It's very good. Rohit, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, like most of us have agreed more or less that if I can start with business travel, there will be a significant decrease. Short to medium term, those in business travel as a specialty may need to start looking at leisure, offering leisure to their existing customer as one of the aspects of their business travel, of their travel business. A significant proportion of companies are reducing their travel budgets and reducing travel due to duty of care. A lot of companies are also relooking at lower fee contracted travel agents. Clearly, even the MICE market is going to go into a coma. Student travel, group travel movements, all going to go low. So specialty operators will have a larger impact. However, those who can offer a mixed bag of products could have a way forward. I see the shape of the travel agency getting more compact in terms of team strengths, but increase of products on the shelves to offer. We might not come out stronger from it, but hopefully faster, leaner, and a little wiser.
Great. Thank you so much, Rohit. So we had scheduled to have a Q&A session after the speaker panel, but as we are already 20 minutes after the hour, I would like to end this session. We have several questions in the chat panel, and I will reply to all of these questions offline. Also, I would like to mention that we have next week another TTS talk. This one will be with speakers representing Africa, and also tomorrow we will have a webinar on the ultimate corporate travel experience. So if you want to take a look on the best CBT out there for Travelport agencies, feel free to join our webinar tomorrow about TTS Corporate, and I will ensure that you will gladly have a nice experience. So I would personally like to thank all the attendees, all the speakers for the relevant insights that you share with us this morning. Thank you so much, everyone, and I wish that everyone has a pleasant week, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Bye.